The stars died in silence. Hyun watched the data streams from her station aboard the eternal horizon, and her hand stopped moving across the keyboard. The numbers made no sense. 3 billion life signs on Taros Prime had simply vanished. Not destroyed, not scattered, vanished. Run it again, she said to the computer. Her voice was steady, but her heart was not. The computer confirmed what she already knew. The colony was gone. The planet remained, but everything living on it had ceased to exist in the span of 14 seconds. Across the bridge, alarms began to sound. Captain Doyen's voice came through on the fleet channel, tight with controlled fear. All ships, battle stations, unknown entity approaching Taro system. It's big. Hyun pulled up the visual feed and felt her breath catch. The thing moving through space was not a ship. It was not a creature. It was something else entirely. The sensors called it an object, but objects did not move with purpose. Objects did not radiate hunger. It looked like a tear in space itself, edges rippling with colors that should not exist. Where it passed, stars dimmed, space stations went dark, and now it was moving toward the core systems, toward the heart of the Galactic Council's territory. Ji-won, the human ambassador, appeared on the main screen. Her usually calm face was pale. Emergency council session in 10 minutes. All species representatives required. Hyun, I need you there. Bring everything you have on historical cosmic phenomena. Hyun nodded and started gathering files. She was a xenolinguist, someone who studied alien languages and cultures. She did not understand why the ambassador needed her for what looked like a military crisis. But she had learned to trust Ji-won's instincts. The council chamber was chaos. 47 species all talking at once. The Vryn delegation was already demanding retreat. The Kolthan war chiefs were calling for immediate attack. The older species, the ones who had seen millennia pass, were silent. That silence scared Hyun more than the shouting. Order! Ji-won's voice cut through the noise. We face an extinction-level threat. Fighting among ourselves helps no one. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. The entity was there, rendered in cold blue light. It had consumed 4 more colonies in the past hour. 16 billion dead, what is it? Someone asked. We don't know, replied a Vryn scientist. It doesn't match any known classification. It's not biological. It's not mechanical. It's not energy-based in any way we understand. It simply is, and it consumes. Hyun raised her hand. Ji-won nodded to her. Request permission to access the deep archives, Hyun said. The old records. The ones from dead civilizations. The chamber went quiet. The deep archives were sealed. They contained knowledge from species that had gone extinct some millions of years ago. Most considered them cursed. Why? Asked a council elder. Because, Hyun said carefully, this thing moves with purpose. It chooses what to consume. That suggests intelligence. And if it's intelligent, maybe someone has encountered it before. The elder considered this. Granted. But you have 24 hours. After that, we evacuate the core systems. Hyun left immediately, taking a shuttle to Archive World Epsilon. The planet was a library, nothing more. Millions of data cores holding the final words of civilizations that had failed. She was not alone. A young engineer named Mina was already there, covered in dust from pulling old data cores. Mina's eyes were red. She had lost her family on Taros Prime. I heard what you said to the council, Mina said. I want to help. If there's even a chance this thing can be stopped, I need to be part of it. Together, they searched. Hour after hour, they pulled records and ran translation programs. Most of it was useless. Shopping lists, poetry, tax records, the mundane remnants of life. Then Hyun found something. It was a fragment, barely readable. The civilization that wrote it had died 3 million years ago. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. The devourer came. We tried to fight. Fighting was useless. Then Kiva spoke to it. Kiva knew its name. The devourer stopped. We do not understand why, but names have power over old things. Hyun read it 3 times. Mina, look at this. Mina scanned the text. A name? That's insane. How can a name stop something like that? I don't know. But if one civilization figured it out, maybe others did too. They searched with new purpose. 6 hours later, they found another fragment. Different species, different time, different part of the galaxy. But the message was similar. Something about speaking to the entity, about recognition, about names. Hyun sent a message to Ji-won. Need more time. Found something important. The reply came instantly. Time is something we don't have. The entity just changed course. It's heading directly for the Council Citadel. Estimated arrival 4 days. Hyun felt cold. The Citadel held 2 trillion beings. It was the political and cultural heart of the galaxy. Doyen's voice came through on her personal comm. Hyun, this is Captain Doyen. I'm taking the fleet to intercept that thing. Buy you some time. Whatever you're looking for, find it fast. Doyen, wait. Your weapons won't work. None of them will. I know. His voice was grim, but maybe we can slow it down. Every hour matters now. The comm went silent. Hyun wanted to call him back, but she knew he was right. Every hour did matter. She and Mina worked faster. They found 5 more fragments. 7 more, 12, a pattern emerged. The entity was not new. It had been appearing throughout galactic history for eons. Most civilizations died, but a very few, had survived. And every survivor mentioned the same thing: communication, understanding, a name. But what name? Mina asked, frustrated. None of these records actually say what it's called. Because the name isn't a word, Hyun said slowly, pieces clicking together in her mind. Look at the context. These civilizations didn't write the name down. They couldn't. The name is something else. A concept, an understanding of what it is. That makes no sense, but it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be true. Reports came in from the fleet. Doyen had engaged the entity. Human destroyers, Vryn battlecruisers, Kolthan dreadnoughts, all firing together. The entity did not slow down. It did not even acknowledge the attack. It simply absorbed the weapons fire and continued moving. Then it struck back. Ships began to vanish. Not explode, vanish. Pulled into that rippling darkness and erased from existence. Doyun's voice strained. All ships, fall back. Repeat, fall back. We can't hurt it. But 3 ships did not fall back in time. Hyun watched the casualty reports come in. Thousands of crew members gone. Doyen's own ship was damaged but intact. We bought you 6 hours, Doyen reported. That's all I can give you. Hyun looked at the fragments spread across her workspace. 17 extinct civilizations, all trying to tell her the same thing. The entity could be stopped, but not with weapons. It had to be understood. It had to be recognized for what it truly was. And then she found it, the oldest fragment of all, from a civilization so ancient that even their name was lost. The translation was clearer than the others, as if they had spent more time perfecting their message. It has a name. The name is not a sound. The name is its truth. To speak the name, you must understand what it is and why it hungers. We survive because one of us understood. We cannot write what we learned. Words fail. But know this, it is not evil. It is alone. It has been alone since before our stars were born. And loneliness, given enough time, becomes hunger. Hyun sat back, her mind racing. Not evil. Alone. Hungry. She needed to understand something older than galaxies. Something that had been wandering the universe for longer than civilizations had existed, and she had less than 4 days to do it. Hyun did not sleep. She could not afford to sleep. Every hour brought the entity closer to the Citadel, and with it the end of everything the Galactic Council had built. Mina brought her food that she barely touched. You need to rest, the young engineer said. You're no good to anyone if you collapse. I'll rest when I understand, Hyun replied, pulling up another ancient text. There has to be more. The civilizations that survived left these fragments, but they must have left more. Details, instructions, something. Maybe they couldn't, Mina suggested. You said yourself the name isn't a word. Maybe the understanding can't be passed on. Maybe each person has to figure it out themselves. Hyun wanted to argue, but Mina might be right. That thought terrified her. How could she expect to understand something in days that had taken entire civilizations years to figure out? And most of those civilizations had failed. A message came through from Ji-won. Council wants an update. What do you have? Hyun activated the video link. The ambassador looked exhausted. Behind her, Hyun could see the council chambers through the window. Ships were already evacuating non-essential personnel from the Citadel. I have fragments, Hyun said. Evidence that the entity can be communicated with. But I don't have the actual method yet. I need more time. The council is fracturing, Ji-won said quietly. Half the species want to run. The other half want to fight. None of them believe in your theory. They think I'm wasting resources on ancient ghost stories. Do you believe it? Jiwon was silent for a moment. I believe that humans have a talent for finding solutions that others miss. I believe that we survived on Earth by understanding predators, not just fighting them. And I believe that if you say there's a chance, then there's a chance. But Hyun, I need something concrete, something I can show them. Give me 12 more hours. You have 6. After that, I can't hold them together anymore. The connection ended. 6 hours. Hyun looked at the mountains of data surrounding her and wanted to scream. But screaming would not help. She forced herself to think. The entity was old. Ancient beyond imagining. It came from before. But before what? The fragments mentioned loneliness. They mentioned hunger. They mentioned that it was not evil. Mina, she said suddenly, pull up everything we have on pre-universe theories. Scientific models of what existed before the Big Bang. Before the universe? That's theoretical physics, not linguistics. Just do it. Mina worked her console and data began filling the screens. Theories about previous universes. Models suggesting that the Big Bang was not the beginning, but a transition. Ideas about what might survive such a transition. There, Hyun said, pointing. That one. The theory about information conservation. It suggests that if a previous universe existed, something from it might survive into the new one. Not matter, not energy, but information, patterns, consciousness. You think the entity is from a previous universe? It would explain why it's so old, why our weapons don't work, why it seems to exist outside normal physics. Hyun pulled up the ancient fragment again, the one about loneliness, and it would explain this. Imagine being the only thing left from your entire reality, everything you knew, everyone you knew, every star and planet and concept of existence all gone, and you're left alone in a new universe that's not yours, that will never be yours. Mina sat down heavily. That's not hunger. That's grief. Grief can become hunger, Hyun said softly. When you've lost everything and you're trying to fill a void that can never be filled. Another message came in, this time from Doyun. Hyun, we've got a problem. The entity is accelerating. New estimated arrival at the Citadel. 36 hours. We're out of delaying options. Hyun felt panic rising but pushed it down. 36 hours. She had to work faster. Mina, I need you to do something. Build me a communication array. Something that can project not just sound or images, but concepts, emotions, pure information. That's impossible with current technology. Then make it possible. Use whatever you need. The Council will authorize anything at this point. Mina hesitated, then nodded. I'll need help. Engineering teams from at least 5 different species. You'll have them. Go. Alone now, Hyun dove deeper into the data. She found more fragments. A pattern emerged. The civilizations that survived the entity had something in common. They had suffered. Really suffered. Species that had endured near-extinction events. Civilizations that had faced the end of their worlds. Cultures that knew what loss meant. One fragment stood out. It was from a species called the Yenth, dead for 4 million years. The translation was remarkably clear. Kiva understood because Kiva had lost everything. Her world burned. Her family died. She was alone among strangers, the last of her kind. When she stood before the Devourer, she recognized herself in it. That recognition was the key. She did not speak to it as an enemy or a mystery. She spoke to it as someone who understood what it meant. To be the last one standing when everything else is gone. Hyun read it again and again. Recognition, understanding, empathy. The idea forming in her mind was insane, but it fit all the data. The entity did not need to be fought. It needed to be recognized. It needed to be understood. And understanding something required empathy, required putting yourself in its place, required truly grasping what it felt. She pulled up her personal files, messages from her family, pictures from Earth, memories of home. She had been away from Earth for 3 years. She missed it. She missed her parents. She missed walking in rain and eating food that tasted like childhood. That was 3 years. The entity had been alone for billions of years. Maybe more, maybe for all the time since the previous universe ended. How did you empathize with something on that scale? Reports came in steadily now. The entity was 30 hours away. 28 hours, 26. Each hour brought more panic. More ships fleeing. More arguments in the council. Jiwon called again. Some of the council members are calling for your arrest. They say you're giving false hope and preventing proper evacuation. Are you going to arrest me? No. But Hyun, I need something. Anything. The Kolthon are threatening to launch their planet-killer weapons. They know it won't work, but they want to die fighting. Tell them to wait. Mina is building the array. I'm working on the message. What message? You still don't know what to say. I know exactly what to say, Hyun replied, surprised to realize it was true. I just don't know how to say it yet. 12 hours before the entity reached the Citadel, Mina called. The array is ready. It's not elegant and it might explode after one use, but it should work. It'll broadcast directly from your neural patterns. Whatever you're thinking and feeling will be transmitted as pure information. Will the entity receive it? If it's intelligent, if it can perceive information on that level, then yes. But Hyun, this is dangerous. Broadcasting your consciousness like that. It could damage your mind. You could lose yourself in the signal. It's fine. It's not fine. Let me find another way. There is no other way. And Mina, there's no time. Mina's face was anguished. You're going to fly out to meet that thing, aren't you? You're going to put yourself right in its path. Yes. That's suicide. Maybe. But if I'm right, if the entity just needs to be understood, then someone has to try, and it has to be genuine. I can't fake empathy from a safe distance. I have to mean it. Mina was quiet for a long moment. I lost my family to that thing. Part of me wants it to suffer. But you're right. If it's possible to end this without more death, we have to try. She paused. My family would want that. They always said violence was the last option, not the first. Help me prepare the shuttle, Hyun said gently. 6 hours before impact, Hyun stood in the shuttle bay. Doyeon was there along with Jiwon and a small crowd of crew members. Word had spread about what she was going to do. This is insane, Doyeon said. You're one person in a tiny shuttle facing something that's destroyed fleets. I know. Let me come with you. No. It has to be one person. One voice. One understanding. More than that, and the signal gets confused. Jiwon stepped forward and hugged her. The council has authorized this mission. Officially, you're not crazy. You're brave. Come back to us. Hyun nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She climbed into the shuttle and Mina sealed the door. The entity was 4 hours away when Hyun launched. She flew toward it. A small spark of light heading into darkness. Behind her, the fleet and the Citadel waited. Trillions of beings holding their breath. As she flew, Hyun meditated. She thought about loss, about loneliness, about what it meant to be the last one left. She opened herself to those feelings, let them fill her completely, and she began to understand. The shuttle felt very small. Hyun sat in the pilot seat, watching the entity grow larger on her displays. It no longer looked like a tear in space. This close, it looked like the absence of everything, a void that existed not because nothing was there, but because something had consumed what should have been there. 2 hours until contact. Her comm crackled. Hyun, this is Doyeon. Last chance to turn back. We can try something else. Anything else? There is nothing else, Doyeon. You know that. I know, but I had to say it. A pause. Good luck, and Hyun? Thank you. For trying. The comm went quiet. Hyun knew they were watching her on their sensors. A single shuttle approaching certain death. It must look like madness. Maybe it was madness. She activated Mina's communication array. The device hummed to life and she felt it connect to her neural patterns. It was strange, like having her thoughts exposed to the vacuum of space. Jiwon's voice came through next. The council is watching. I convinced them to give you this chance. Some of them are praying. Did you know the Vrin pray? I didn't until today. I didn't either, Hyun said softly. What will you say to it? I don't know yet. I'm trying to understand it first. How do you understand something like that? By remembering what it's like to lose everything. Hyun closed her eyes and let her mind drift. She thought about her childhood on Earth, the small apartment in Seoul where she grew up. Her mother's laugh, her father's terrible jokes, the smell of kimchi fermenting in clay pots, the sound of rain on windows. She thought about leaving Earth to join the Galactic Council. The excitement, the fear, the homesickness that hit her in the middle of the night when she was surrounded by aliens and stars she did not recognize. She thought about the letters from home. Fewer each year, everyone getting older, life moving on without her. The growing distance, not just in space but in experience. She was becoming someone her family could not fully understand, and they were becoming strangers to her. That was painful. but it was nothing compared to what the entity must feel. Hyun tried to imagine it. Your entire universe ending, not just your planet or your family, everything. Every physical law, every concept of existence, every memory and hope and dream that your reality contained, all of it collapsing into nothing, and somehow you survive. But you survive into something new, a universe with different rules, different physics, different everything. You are not just alone. You are impossible. You should not exist. You are a ghost haunting a reality that is not yours. How long would you stay sane? 1,000 years? 1,000,000? 1,000,000,000? Eventually, you would forget what you were. You would become just the hunger, just the need to fill the emptiness inside you. You would consume because consuming is the only thing that feels like action, like purpose, like existence. Tears ran down Hyun's face. She understood now. Not intellectually, but in her heart. The entity was not a monster. It was a tragedy. 1 hour until contact. The shuttle began to shake. She was entering the entity's influence. Space itself was bending around it. Stars were dimming. Time was acting strangely. The shuttle's clock kept skipping seconds, then going backward. Hyun, your readings are going crazy, Mina's voice frightened. Get out of there. The shuttle can't handle those conditions. It's fine. I'm fine. You're not fine. Your life signs are fluctuating. The stress on your body is extreme, I know, but I have to get closer. It has to know I'm here. It has to know I'm not attacking. 30 minutes. The entity filled her entire view now. She could see patterns in it. Movement. It was not static. It was alive in some way that she could not fully grasp. And it was aware. She could feel it noticing her shuttle. Noticing her. For a moment, she felt its attention focus on her, and the weight of it nearly crushed her mind. This was something old. Old in ways that made galaxies seem young. Old in ways that made time itself feel fragile. She activated the communication array at full power. Her thoughts, her feelings, her understanding, all of it broadcast as pure information directly at the entity. She did not use words. Words were too small. Instead, she sent emotions, recognition, acknowledgement, sorrow. She sent the message, I see you. I know what you are. I understand your pain. The entity stopped moving. Behind her, on the citadel, alarms went silent. The entity had halted its approach. For the first time in recorded history, it had stopped. It's working. Jiwon breathed over the comm. Keep going. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. But Hyun could not keep doing it. The entity's attention was fully on her now, and with that attention came its memories. Its past, its truth. She saw the universe before this one. It was beautiful. Strange geometries that should not work but did. Colors that did not exist anymore. Concepts of existence that this universe had no room for. And in that universe, the entity had not been alone. It had been part of something. A civilization? A species? The translation did not work. There were no words for what it had been. Then she saw the ending. The old universe collapsing. Everything contracting. Everything dying. The entity watching as its companions faded. As its home reality ceased to be. The desperate attempt to survive. The transition into this new universe. The horrible realization that nothing else had made it through. The loneliness. The grief. The slow descent into hunger. Hyun was sobbing now. She could feel her mind starting to fray under the weight of those memories. They were too big, too old, too painful, but she held on. She had to. She sent another message. You are not evil. You are hurt. And I am sorry. I am so sorry that you have been alone for so long, the entity responded. Not with words, but with something deeper. A question formed in her mind, pressed there by something vast and ancient. Why do you care? Hyun did not hesitate. She sent back memories of her own. Her family. Her friends. Everyone she had ever cared about. The love she felt. The connections that made life worth living. And then she sent this message. Because loneliness is the worst thing. Because no one should be alone forever. Because even if I don't know you, even if you're from a universe I can't imagine, you still deserve to be seen, to be understood, to be remembered. The entity's presence shifted, changed. For a moment, Hyun felt something like surprise from it. Then something like curiosity. Another question. What am I? And Hyun understood. The entity had been alone so long that it had forgotten itself. It had become just hunger, just void, just consumption. It did not remember what it had been before the loneliness took over. This was the name. This was what the ancient fragments had tried to explain. The name was not a label. It was an identity. A recognition of what the entity truly was beneath the hunger. Hyun gathered everything she had learned, everything she had felt, every memory the entity had shown her. She shaped it into a single concept and sent it. You are the last witness of the first silence. You are the memory of everything that came before. You are proof that something existed before this universe began. You are not a destroyer. You are a survivor. You are the bridge between realities, and you matter. The name hung in space between them. The last witness of the first silence. The entity went completely still. Then, slowly, it began to respond. Not with memories this time, but with communication. Real communication. The first it had managed in billions of years. The communication was wordless but clear. I remember now. I remember what I was. Hyun felt the entity's presence soften. The hunger was still there, but it was no longer the only thing. There was awareness now. Understanding. The entity was no longer just acting on instinct. It was thinking. Choosing. Hyun, what's happening? Doyen's voice. The entity is changing. Its energy signature is shifting. It remembers itself, Hyun said, her voice weak. It knows what it is now. Is it still a threat? I don't know. Give me a moment. She focused on the entity again. It was still there, still vast and powerful and terrifying. But it was also aware, conscious, present. She sent a question, what do you want? The answer came immediately. I want to stop being alone. But I do not want to consume anymore. Consumption does not end loneliness. It only makes it worse. Hyun felt hope surge through her. This was the moment. This was the choice point she sent. Then help me. Help me show the galaxy that you're not just a destroyer. Help me show them what you really are. The entity considered this. Then it sent a memory. Not of the past, but of the present. It showed her what it saw when it looked at the Citadel. Not just a target. Not just energy to consume. But trillions of individual lives. Each one connected to others. Each one part of a web of relationships and meanings. It showed her that it could see the beauty in that. The connections. The opposite of its own isolation. The entity sent. I do not know how to be anything other than what I have become. Hyun wiped her eyes. Her whole body ached. Her mind felt stretched thin. But she smiled anyway. She sent, then let us teach you. Let us help you become something new. But first you have to choose. Do you want to change? A long silence. The longest seconds of Hyun's life. Then finally, yes. I choose to change. I choose to be more than hunger. Show me how. The council chamber exploded with noise. 47 species all shouting at once. Some in celebration, some in fear, some simply in disbelief. Jiwon stood at the center, hands raised for silence. Please let her speak. Hyun stood before them via hologram, still in her shuttle. She was exhausted. Her hands shook. Her voice was hoarse. But she was alive, and that was more than anyone had expected. The entity has agreed to communicate, she said. It wants to change. But I need help. I need your help. All of you. A Vryn elder stepped forward. How do we know this is not a trick? How do we know it will not consume us the moment we lower our guard? You don't, Hyun admitted. I can't promise anything. But I can tell you what I learned. The entity is alone. It has been alone since before our universe existed. It consumes because that's all it remembers how to do. But now it remembers what it was. And it wants to be something other than hunger. A Kolthan war chief growled. Words, it destroyed our colonies. Killed billions. Why should we help it? Hyun closed her eyes. Because killing it won't bring them back. And because the entity showed me something. It showed me that it understands what it's done. It showed me regret. Monsters don't feel regret, the war chief said. No, Hyun agreed, but people do. And whatever the entity is, it's not just a monster. It's a person, a damaged, traumatized, ancient person who forgot how to be anything else. Jiwon moved to stand beside the hologram. The entity has stopped moving. It's holding position, waiting for our response. This is unprecedented. Every species in this room has faced extinction-level threats. We've all had to make impossible choices, and we've all survived because someone chose understanding over violence when it mattered most. The chamber was silent now, listening. I propose we help, Jiwon continued. Not because we're naive, not because we're weak, but because we're strong enough to show mercy. And because Hyun is right, the entity wants to change. That choice, that willingness, that's worth protecting. The vote was not unanimous. The Vrin abstained. The Kolthan voted no, but enough species voted yes. The measure passed. Over the next hours, a plan formed. Mina led the technical side, coordinating engineers from dozens of species. They would build a massive communication network, linking thousands of ships and stations. The entity would be connected to all of them, experiencing what it meant to be part of a community. Doyen coordinated the military side. Ships would maintain a perimeter, not as a threat but as a boundary. The entity would have space but also containment. Just in case, and Hyun would be the bridge, the translator, the voice that the entity had learned to trust. 3 days later, the network was ready. Hyun floated in her shuttle, positioned between the entity and the citadel. Around her, in a sphere pattern, thousands of ships waited, each one broadcasting their presence, their thoughts, their willingness to connect. "Are you ready?" Mina asked over the comm. "No," Hyun said honestly, "but let's do it anyway." The network activated. Suddenly, the entity was not alone. It was surrounded by consciousness. Millions of minds, all different, all unique, all connected. Hyun felt the entity's shock. It had not experienced anything like this in so long. To go from isolation to immersion, it was overwhelming. She sent a message through the network. "We are here. You are not alone anymore." The entity's response was chaotic. Fear, joy, confusion, pain, all at once. It did not know how to process connection. It had forgotten. "It's destabilizing," a Vrin technician reported. "The energy fluctuations are increasing." "Give it time," Hyun said. "It's learning." But time was the one thing they did not have. The entity's form began to ripple violently. Space around it distorted. Ships started pulling back. "Hyun, get out of there," Doyun ordered. "It's losing control." "No, it's not losing control. It's scared." Hyun focused all her attention on the entity. She sent calm. Peace. Acceptance. She sent, "I know it's too much. I know it hurts. But stay with us. Stay with me. You're doing well. You're learning. Just breathe." The entity responded, "I don't breathe. I don't know how to exist like this. There are too many voices, too many feelings." Hyun understood. After billions of years of silence, to suddenly hear millions of voices would be torture. She adjusted the network, filtering it down. Just a few voices now. Gentle ones. Quiet ones. Better. The entity calmed slightly. Over the next hours, Hyun slowly introduced the entity to more connections. One ship at a time. One voice at a time. Teaching it how to exist as part of something larger without being overwhelmed. She introduced it to Mina first. The young engineer who had lost her family but chose to help anyway. The entity sensed Mina's pain. Sensed the loss, and something changed in it. Hyun felt it clearly. The entity understood that it had caused this pain. That its hunger had consequences. That those consumed were not just energy but people with connections and meanings. The entity sent to Mina, "I am sorry. I did not understand what I was taking." Mina was silent for a long moment. Then she sent back, "I can't forgive you. Not yet, maybe not ever. But I believe you're trying to change. That's enough for now." Next was Doyen, the captain who had lost ships and crew trying to stop the entity. The entity sensed his anger, his frustration, his grief for the soldiers who died. The entity sent, "You tried to protect them." "You are brave," Doyen replied. "I failed to protect them. You killed them." The entity did not try to excuse itself. It simply sent, "Yes, I did. And I will carry that weight forever." One by one, more people connected. Some were kind. Some were angry. Some were just curious. But all of them were real. All of them helped the entity understand what it meant to be part of a galaxy of living beings. Days passed. The entity learned. It started to control its form better. The hunger was still there, but it was no longer overwhelming. The entity could think past it, could choose not to act on it. "It's working," Jiwon reported. "The entity is stabilizing. It's even starting to help. It's using its abilities to strengthen the communication network." Hyun smiled. For the first time in weeks, she slept more than 2 hours straight. When she woke, there was a message from the entity waiting for her. The entity sent, "I remember more now. I remember my purpose from before. I was a guardian. I protected the boundaries of reality in my universe. But when that universe ended, there were no boundaries left to protect. I became purposeless, lost, Hyun sent. What if you could protect again? What if you could have purpose again? The entity's response was immediate. How? I have an idea, Hyun said to the council later. But you're not going to like it, she was right. They did not like it. You want to make it a guardian of our universe? The Vryn elder was incredulous. Give it authority, power? It already has power, Hyun pointed out. What it needs is purpose, and we need someone who can monitor the boundaries of reality, make sure nothing else comes through from previous universes, make sure our universe stays stable. How do we know it won't abuse that position? A council member asked. We don't, Hyun admitted. But right now we have an entity that wants to help, that wants to be more than it was. If we reject that, if we treat it only as a threat, then we guarantee it stays a threat. But if we give it a chance, if we show it trust, then maybe we create something better. The debate went on for hours, but in the end the council agreed. Partially because Hyun was right, partially because they were still afraid of what the entity could do if provoked, and partially because Ji-won had spent days building support behind the scenes. The ceremony was held in neutral space. Ships from every species gathered to witness. The entity, too, was present. It had shaped itself into something less terrifying. Still vast, still powerful, but more defined. Almost structured, Ji-won spoke for the council. The entity that we knew as the Devourer, the entity that Hyun has named the last witness of the first silence, has agreed to serve as guardian of the cosmic boundary. It will watch the edges of our reality. It will ensure stability, and it will protect us all from what might come from beyond. The entity sent a message to everyone present. I accept this purpose. I accept this trust, and I promise that I will not consume again unless invited. I will protect, not destroy. I will guard, not hunt. This I swear on the memory of my lost universe. Hyun felt tears on her face. It was not a perfect solution. The entity had still killed billions. That could not be undone, but it was a path forward, a way for everyone to survive. Later, when the ceremony was over and the ships had dispersed, Hyun floated alone in her shuttle near where the entity waited. She sent, "Thank you for choosing to change." The entity responded, "Thank you for giving me a name, for remembering what I was. I was lost in my own hunger. You found me again." Hyun sent, "What will you do now?" The entity was quiet for a moment. Then, "I will go to the boundary. I will watch, and I will remember. I will remember my universe. I will remember those I consumed, and I will make sure that my story means something, that the last witness of the first silence becomes more than tragedy, that it becomes hope." Hyun smiled. "That's a good purpose, yes," the entity agreed. "It is enough." 5 years passed. Hyun stood at the observation deck of the eternal horizon watching the stars. She was older now. There were lines on her face that had not been there before, gray in her hair, but her eyes were calmer, more certain. Behind her the door opened. Mina entered. No longer the young engineer, but the head of the Galactic Communication Institute. She carried data pads and wore the expression of someone with important news. "The Guardian wants to speak with you," Mina said. "It says it's important," he unturned. "Just me?" "Just you." Though it asked if you could meet at the boundary. In person, the boundary. The edge of known space where reality itself became strange. Where the Guardian, the entity that had once been called the Devourer, now kept watch. "Tell the Guardian I'll be there in 3 days." The journey to the boundary took her through the heart of council space. She passed stations and colonies rebuilt after the entity's attacks, memorials to those who had died, but also new construction, new hope. The galaxy had survived and grown stronger for it. Doyen met her at the last major station before the boundary. He was an admiral now, commanding the boundary fleet, gray at his temples but still sharp-eyed. "You don't have to go alone," he said. "I can send escorts." The Guardian requested privacy. "I'll respect that. Hyun, we trust it. But that doesn't mean we're careless." He handed her a device. "Emergency beacon. One press and my ships will be there in minutes." She took it, knowing she would never use it. "How has it been?" "The Guardian? Quiet, watchful. It sends reports every week. Detailed analysis of cosmic radiation patterns, reality fluctuations, anything that might indicate a breach. It takes the job seriously." "Has it consumed anything?" "No, not once in 5 years. It's kept its promise, Doyen paused. There have been a few times when creatures tried to cross from other dimensions. The Guardian stopped them, gently if possible, with force if necessary, but it never consumed them. Just sent them back where they belonged. Hyun nodded. This was good to hear. The shuttle ride to the boundary was long. Space became strange as she approached. Colors shifted. Stars seemed to pulse. The laws of physics bent in uncomfortable ways. Then she saw the Guardian. It had changed. No longer a void or a tear in space. It had shaped itself into something almost beautiful. Flowing patterns of light and darkness constantly moving like a cosmic dance. It was still enormous, still clearly other, but there was grace to it now. Purpose. Hyun's shuttle approached slowly. The Guardian enveloped it gently like a hand cupping water. She felt the familiar presence in her mind, but softer now. Controlled. The Guardian sent, "Welcome, first speaker." Thank you for coming, first speaker. That had become her title. The one who had first spoken to the Guardian. The bridge between humanity and the impossible. Hyun sent, "You said it was important." The Guardian hesitated. Hyun could feel uncertainty from it. That was new. The Guardian sent, "I have found something, and I need advice. I need wisdom. I need someone who understands both what I was and what I am trying to be." Hyun felt a chill. "Show me." The Guardian's form shifted, creating a viewing area. Space became transparent, and Hyun could see beyond the boundary. Into the space between realities. The void that existed outside the universe. There, barely visible, was something small. Something struggling. The Guardian sent another survivor. Like me. From a different previous universe. It has been lost for even longer than I was. It is confused. Hungry. It will become what I was if it crosses into this universe. Hyun's breath caught. "You want to know if you should stop it?" The Guardian sent, "I want to know if I should help it. If I should teach it what you taught me. But I am afraid. What if I fail? What if helping it risks this universe? What if my mercy becomes catastrophe?" Hyun understood now. The Guardian was facing the same choice that the Council had faced 5 years ago. Help the dangerous thing or destroy it? Show mercy or ensure safety? She thought carefully before responding. "What does your instinct tell you?" The Guardian sent, "My instinct says to help, because I remember what it was like. The loneliness. The confusion, the slow descent into becoming a monster. If someone had reached me earlier, before I consumed so many worlds, I would have been grateful. I would have changed faster. But you're afraid that your instinct is wrong." The Guardian sent, "Yes. I destroyed so much before I learned. What if this other survivor destroys even more? What if my choice to show mercy costs billions of lives?" Hyun was quiet for a long moment. This was not an easy question. There was no perfect answer. Finally she sent, "I can't tell you what to do. This is your choice. But I can tell you what I believe. I believe that every being deserves a chance to be better. I believe that mercy is not weakness, and I believe that you are proof that change is possible. You chose to be different. You chose to grow. That matters," the Guardian responded, "but what if I fail? What if I teach it and it still becomes a destroyer?" Hyun sent, "Then we deal with it together. The Council, the fleet, you and me. We stop it if we must, but we try understanding first. We try compassion first, because if we don't, if we just destroy everything we fear, then we become the monsters instead." The Guardian was silent for a long time. Hyun could feel it thinking, weighing options, struggling with the decision. Finally, "I will help it. I will teach it as you taught me. I will show it that there is another way. But I will also be careful. I will not let it harm this universe while it learns." Hyun felt relief wash through her. "Good. That's good." The Guardian sent, "Will you help me? Will you speak to it as you spoke to me?" "Of course, when it's ready." Over the next months, Hyun watched as the Guardian worked with the other survivor. It was slow, difficult. The new entity was even more damaged than the Guardian had been. It had been alone for longer. Its hunger was deeper, but the Guardian was patient. It shared its own memories, its own transformation, and slowly the new entity began to respond. Hyun helped when she could. She spoke to the new entity through the Guardian. She shared stories of the galaxy, of connection, of community, of what life could be. The new entity, which the Guardian named the Wanderer, began to stabilize. It learned to control its hunger. It learned to communicate. And eventually it made the same choice that the Guardian had made, to be something other than a destroyer. The Council was nervous. Two cosmic entities at the boundary instead of one, but they trusted the Guardian. And they trusted Hyun. So they waited and watched. Years passed again. The Guardian and the Wanderer both kept their vigil. They protected the galaxy from threats beyond reality. They learned from each other, and they were no longer alone. Hyun grew older. She trained others to be speakers, to maintain communication with the entities. Mina became her closest colleague. Doyen ensured the military stayed ready but not aggressive. One day, 15 years after she had first met the Guardian, Hyun made her final trip to the boundary. She was old now, tired, ready to rest. The Guardian sensed it immediately. "You are dying," "Yes," Hyun said simply. "It's natural. Humans don't live as long as cosmic entities." The Guardian's presence filled with sorrow. "I do not want you to go. You saved me. You gave me purpose. You are my friend," Hyun smiled. "I'm honored to be your friend. And I'm not really going. Not completely. I'll be in your memories. In the stories you tell. In the choices you make." The Guardian sent, "Is there anything I can do? Any way to make your ending easier? Just remember what I taught you. Remember that mercy matters, that understanding matters, that every being deserves a chance to be better." She paused. "And remember your name. Remember that you are the last witness of the first silence, the bridge between realities, the Guardian who chose compassion over consumption." The Guardian was quiet for a long time. Then, "I will remember. I promise. And I will make sure others remember too. Your story will be told. The human who taught a cosmic destroyer how to be kind. That story will live forever." Hyun felt tears on her face. "That's all I could ask for." She died 3 days later, surrounded by family and friends. The funeral was attended by representatives from every species in the council. Jiwon gave the eulogy. Mina and Doyun both spoke. And at the edge of the system, visible even in daylight, the Guardian pulsed with light in a pattern that everyone recognized as grief. 50 years later, the galaxy had changed. The boundary was no longer feared. It was protected by 3 entities now: the Guardian, the Wanderer, and the Keeper, another survivor that the Guardian had found and taught. Humanity's position in the Council had grown, not because of military power or technology, but because of their reputation for understanding, for empathy, for finding solutions that others missed. The Institute of Xenoempathy, founded in Hyun's name, trained diplomats from every species. They learned the lessons she had taught, that monsters are often just wounded things, that names have power. That understanding is the first step to peace. And at the boundary, the entities kept watch. They protected the galaxy. They taught any new survivors they found. And they told stories. The Guardian's favorite story was always the same: the story of the human woman who flew into darkness to meet a destroyer, who looked at something ancient and terrible and saw not a monster, but a person who needed help, who spoke a name that had been forgotten for billions of years. That story spread across the galaxy. It was told in schools. It was carved into monuments. It became legend. And in that legend, in that story, Hyun lived on. The last witness of the first silence kept its promise. It remembered. And in remembering, it ensured that the lesson would never be lost. That even the most dangerous predator will lower its head when someone speaks its true name with understanding and compassion. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not weapons, not technology, but the simple, powerful act of seeing others truly and choosing mercy when mercy seemed impossible. And that gift changed everything.